Welcome to the Geek Cabal channel. My name is Bobby, and today we're going to be talking about Dune Part 2, which Chad and I just watched last night as of this recording, which is happening Friday, March 1st. This is a kind of a strike while the iron's hot kind of deal. Chad and I will be recording a longer video, because I definitely want to get his thoughts on the matter, and this is a lot more of a just in brief kind of thing. So if you want to wait for the longer video, totally understand. Just want to tell you up front, that it is coming. So, anyway. So, like I said, saw the movie last night. Without going into spoilers, which I really feel like I shouldn't have to mention since the book is older than I am, and there's a 40-year-old movie adaptation out there already. But, for those of you who know nothing about the story, I'll save the spoilers till the end. So anyway, non-spoilers. Here we go. If you saw part 1 and enjoyed it, I do believe you will enjoy part 2. I don't see any reason that you wouldn't. I think the two movies, even though they were shot separately, they look, they're stylistically, visually, and musically aligned, so you could edit them into one long movie, which, frankly, I'd be kind of surprised if they didn't at some point. I mean, I would. That's how I'd package it and sell it. Once part two's had its, run theatrically and initial Blu-ray DVD sales, to get another spike, I personally would edit them together into one single movie. So anyway, the movie was excellent. It does not 100% follow the book, which, I mean, no movie adaptation does. So, it's a matter of how close does it get. And I think spiritually it's there. Although in a lot of ways the 80s film is also spiritually there too. It just goes off on some weird tangents. I'll save that more for the other video. Because Chad and I also recently watched that in theaters 2 weeks ago, because it's the 40th anniversary and Fathom Events had it on. So we'll hopefully talk about that in a separate other video. We'll talk about it in the other Dune video, but also its own video. So, is it more faithful in the 80s adaptation? Yes. But remember, I shouldn't say but. Just bear in mind, whenever I say it's not 100% faithful, neither was part 1. There were changes. They're not dramatic changes. A lot of them have to do with appearances. Like Liet Kynes in the book is a white guy. He's an Imperial. He's not from among the Fremen, and he's Chani's father, not Chani's mother. And if they would have gone a little bit more into some of the intricacies of Fremen culture, you would understand. It makes sense why that's kind of a big deal. But for what the movie is portraying, it didn't matter. It's not like Liet Kynes is a huge role. It's just one of those things. It's why would you change this? And I think the reasoning is because they cast Zendaya as Chani. So, one of her parents has to look at least a little bit like her. And by the way, I thought she did a good job. I wasn't tremendously impressed with her in the Spider-Man movies, but that's more the fact her role consisted almost entirely of just being snarky. And I mean, shit, I can be snarky. That doesn't take talent. But here, I thought she, did a good job. Her character was a little against the grain of the book, but that's fine. It was a change that, while it wasn't necessary on any level whatsoever, it didn't tremendously impact the movie. And again, Chad and I'll talk a little bit more about that. There seemed to be more action from Paul's mother than I remember from the book, but I could be mistaken. It's been a while since I've read it. There's definitely some changes involving Alia, and again, I'll mention some of that in some of the spoiler stuff here in a minute. But by and large, it hits all the notes from the book. I think we actually got some extra stuff with some interactions between Fade and the Baron Harkonnen, and between Fade and Raban. So I think there was extra stuff there. If I'm recalling from the book correctly, I believe there was extra stuff, and that was nice. You do get a little bit more explanation of the Bene Gesserit plan and some other things like that. But yeah, overall, definitely very worthwhile. I regretted not seeing the first part in a theater. I'm glad I saw this one in a theater. If you have the option to see this in IMAX, we did not. We saw it at a local theater. But if you can see this in an IMAX theater, I can only imagine how spectacular this movie will look and feel. So, yeah, definitely worthwhile if you watched it. If you watched part one and liked it, the end is unlike the 1980s version. The end was definitely made with an eye toward someone who read the other books, who understood where the plot was going, wrote the end of this movie. And they definitely wrote it with a part 3 in mind. So hopefully that comes to pass. I know it's the current plan, but Hollywood plans, they are what they are. So, having said that, again, excellent movie. Probably I've only seen it once, and there's always the newness factor and everything, so maybe by the time Chad and I will talk in a couple days, it'll have swirled around a bit, but I'd really need to see it a couple more times. And I am always leery about if I've read the book or the comic book and it's trying to be a faithful adaptation, are there parts that I'm only imagining being in there because I've read the book so I can fill in the blanks internally, or does the movie actually convey everything? So I'm always kind of leery on throwing out ratings and whatnot. But yeah, this is probably on a 1 to 10 scale, 8, 8.5. I mean, this is up there. The first half of the story is not that hard to convey. It's the second half that's the harder to convey. And I think they stuck the landing. So, well, so far, part three is where things get interesting. But yeah, so into the spoiler zone, which isn't going to be very long. So some brief changes from the book that you may or may not be expecting. Alia is not born in the movie. She is still an embryo, a fetus inside of her mother throughout the movie. She does gain consciousness like she's supposed to, but she just communes with Jessica, which means that the movie time frame is different than the book time frame, because in the book, once they're taken in by the Fremen, Jessica gives birth to Alia, and so she's 2 or 3 years old by the end of the first book, whereas here she hasn't been born yet, which means that some other things by necessity didn't happen. Those of you familiar with the series probably know that Paul and Chani have children. They have twins, if I recall correctly, but they had a son before that, during the first book, who gets killed by the Harkonnens, and that's not even mentioned. That could not have happened in this time frame. So I don't know if at the end, if Chani's already pregnant with the other kids, and just doesn't know it yet, or what. So she kind of just storms off at the end. Stilgar is very much a true believer. Everything Paul does, he interprets as a sign that he is I can't pronounce how they say it, the voice of the outer world, the prophet come to lead them to paradise. So, and that's definitely a huge thing in this movie, is that they really focus on the religious fervor, and you feel it. And also, if you know anything at all about where this series goes or history, there's parts of it that should, on a subconscious level, you can feel a sense of dread and terror as to what you're witnessing, because these are the kinds of things that never ever end well, and they don't in the book, spoiler alert. So yeah, you can see, you understand why Paul's having to do what he's having to do, but you also understand, since he can see the future, he knows this all ends in bad, but he has no choice to defeat the Emperor and the Baron. So yeah, like you can feel it in this movie, and it's like I said, it's like all in terror combined. Like it's, you can see the feel the sense of just religious fervor that these people have been swayed under by Paul. And yeah, and that's one of the things that's different about Chani. She's not a believer in the prophecy or any of this, partially because she's part of it. And it's very, I'm not gonna say it's subtle, but it has to do with her other Fremen name, and she mentions she thinks it's stupid because it's part of some prophecy, and I think it means sweet tears, desert tears, something. I should have written it down. And when it's Paul drinks the water of life, she mixes one of her tears with another drop of the water and puts it on his lips, and that's what brings him back to life, because the water of life is poisonous. And they're just like, oh, like in the prophecy. They don't say like in the prophecy, but they mention like tears of the desert or something. And if you were paying attention earlier, you can piece together that she was prophesied to bring him back like that. So, but at the same time, we all know the prophecy is just a bunch of baloney that the Bene Gesserit cooked up. And even Paul is like, confronts his mom about that, and is like, what you've done here is unthinkable to these people, but he takes advantage of it. Also, one thing that is mentioned in this movie that was not mentioned in the 84 version, but that you should have been able to piece together. In the 84 version, all of the Harkonnens have red hair, which is a common trait that I believe they all have in the book as well. I know Baron Harkonnen does, but I believe the others do as well. And, well, the only other person in the 84 movie with red hair is Lady Jessica. Why does she have red hair? Because she's the Baron's daughter, which means Paul is the Baron's grandson, which means that his grandfather killed his father. Like, good luck with that in therapy. So yeah, and that has all kinds of other ramifications in the books, which again, Chad and I'll talk a little bit more about that I don't know how far they're going to go with here, but yeah, it's it is mentioned. The Baron's death is different than it was in the book. Doesn't quite have the irony factor that it does in the book. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the other video. And if for some reason, by the way, if Chad and I can't get around to make another video, I will make a longer video. But Chad and I are going to try to actually get a video together. It just might take a few days for us to get together. So, yeah, like, it's different in a few ways, but I think it hits all the notes, and it ends on the foreboding note that it really needed to, since they plan on making the next part. Because it does not end with Paul bringing rain to Arrakis. That's not how the book ended. That's not how the 84 movie should have ended. It ends with the other houses of the Landstrad do not recognize Paul's claim to the emperorship, because he agrees to marry Princess Irulan and take the throne. Excuse me. And Shaddam IV is going to step down. Irulan begs for his life so that so Paul won't kill him right then and there. Paul agrees. They're going to be married. The houses refuse to recognize this, and so he tells the Fremen, well, then show them the way to paradise, and they'll go and load up in all the troop transports and take off to spread the holy war, the jihad, across the universe. And yeah, a lot of people get shown the way to paradise. And yeah, that's how the movie ends. Like, and if you know how the rest of the books go, like, you're like, damn, they're going there, huh? Okay. So, which they kind of need to, because the part of the point of the books was that, like, you shouldn't be waiting around for a leader or a king or a messiah to fix everything for you. Like, if you do, one, you're going to be waiting forever, but two, someone that comes along and claims all that probably doesn't have your best interest at heart, probably just going to use you, and it's probably all going to end in tears or bloodshed or worse. And yeah, that's kind of a thing going forward in the books. So yeah, anyway, excellent movie, like I said. Can't wait for part 3. I might be able to get to watch this in IMAX before the end of the run. I hope so. Chad and I, like I said, are going to discuss some of the things more, because I'm sure he caught a lot of things I didn't, and vice versa. Yeah. So those of you out there who liked part 1 and are, for whatever reason, iffy, go watch part 2. If you didn't see part 1, watch it now, then go watch part 2. So, excellent movie. Like I said, if I had to nail it down right now, I'm probably leaning towards like 8.5. It's good. So, yeah. Might change with a few more viewings. You never know. I mean, hell, I honestly thought that The Last Jedi wasn't terrible immediately after watching it. It took a day or two for it to all kind of swirl around to be like, oh, wait just a damn minute. And then about a week later, it calcified into, this is a horrible damn movie. And I haven't moved ever since. So, I don't think it's going to happen here, but, you know, it does happen. If it does, folks will be the first to know. Well, second to know, because I'll be the first to know. But anyway, yeah, so thanks for watching. Check out the other video when we get it up there. And like I said, hopefully we're going to have time to also do one on the 84 Dune movie, because we recently saw that too. So anyway, thank you folks for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Have you seen it already? I know at least one of our fans has. He also thought it was excellent. And I don't think we're going to have things worked out by then, but if I somehow do, I'm going to set it up so we can actually talk about that. I keep being plagued with other things distracting me from fixing that. Hopefully get that all sorted out. But like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff with YouTube. You know how to do this. But anyway, folks, see you later. And remember, the spice must flow.